We're building our dream home here on the misty mountain slopes of Northern Portugal. We're just an ordinary family that's found ourselves on an extraordinary journey. To you, this may look like an ordinary day. And if you're just joining us now for this chapter in Portugal, you might not know that this all began with a $4,000 rusty old van and the life-changing decision to start sharing our lives on YouTube.
It's our first night in the van.
This is now our full-time home.
This is the story of how hard work and making difficult choices took us from van life to building our dream.
This didn't all just come easy.
She doesn't want to film it.
And honestly, the day we set off on our YouTube adventure back in July of 2020, we could never have imagined what lay ahead for us, and how by creating videos and telling our story, we'd work the hardest we'd ever work in our lives, and our wildest dreams would become our reality. The year ahead for us is a big one. We've thrown everything we have into creating a beautiful home for us and our boys.
And there's a huge amount of pressure as we start to build our dream home.
But the story of this little space on YouTube, where we all come together twice a week to celebrate the milestones.
Quite surreal, isn't it?
Commiserate over the tough days.
Well, we had a conversation this morning that went something along the lines of, should we quit YouTube?
And ride the waves in between. It's become such a huge part of our family and our identity that now, as we start building this, our dream home, we wanted to take a moment to explain to you guys where this all came from and share the story of how we got here. The hard work it's taken to get here, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the in-between. Basically, we're going to squeeze 5 life-changing years into about 30 minutes. And where better place to start than where the dream all began? And that was in a little van called Cotty.
Now it's recording.
Do you want to just pause it? We run through it to see who's going to...
So,
It's almost done. I just had a phone call to say I'm stuck in the van.
what have we got there?
I'm in the dining room.
1st of July, and we are almost there. T-minus 3 days.
So exciting! Do you know what's most fun about looking back on these early days is that we had absolutely no idea what we were signing up for.
I think it's fair to say our first night in the van, we didn't sleep that well, did we?
No, it's going to take some getting used to.
We'd built this little van for the simple reason that we wanted to go to Norway for more than 2 weeks, and the only way that we could afford to do that was to take our accommodation with us. So we'd spent £4,000 on this rusty little Toyota Hiace, and after months of being locked down and told what to do, we could quite literally smell the freedom.
Sure.
Making the decision to move our lives into this tiny little van quite literally changed everything for us.
Well, I think that's a roaring success, don't you?
And it is amazing to look back and realise that and see the 2 people we were who didn't know what was in store for them.
So what's the plan for today?
We've got to figure out where we're going to go.
I was still working at the time and working out the back of the van, but kind of working out my notice period, and we had a bit of savings in the bank. But we were trying to keep our costs to, I think it was €50 a day, which for me was a huge adjustment. Previously, all of my travels had been kind of weekend breaks to Europe or holidays where the focus is on going out for meals.
I'm cooking a salmon for supper, my darling.
And enjoying yourselves and having that extra drink and buying that lovely dress or whatever it might be. And this was such a big learning curve for me.
What an evening last night was.
You know, if you want to make a commitment to a sustainable long-term change in your life, then you've got to make sustainable long-term changes to your daily habits.
This is a proper cool parking place.
We were kind of determined to see how long we could make this lifestyle last before we needed to think about, you know, having to go and get real jobs again. I don't think it had really occurred to us at this point that YouTube could become, well, it certainly hadn't to me anyway, that YouTube could become a career for both of us. I think John's ambitions were a little bit more aligned with that, and he is a person that always deeply believes that anything is possible.
It's recording. Good? My name's John.
And I'm Tara, and if you're new here, we are the Newbys.
Where I was suffering from a little bit of kind of imposter syndrome and a bit of self-doubt and a bit of there's absolutely no ways we could be YouTubers, don't be ridiculous.
And we're sharing weekly updates of our adventures here on our channel.
John was like, let's give it a go. You never know. Maybe it works out. It could quite literally change our lives. So there were a lot of times on this journey where John would take the camera out and I wouldn't want to film.
Smile, darling.
I am smiling.
I was also in the early stages of being pregnant with Crusoe. So, you know, morning sickness, feeling very tired. I spent a lot of time sleeping in the van. And just generally being a little bit grumpy about the whole YouTube filming thing. We were plugging away at making these videos. It was basically just our parents watching them and maybe a few very generous friends. But we stuck with it and we really started to enjoy the creative process. But also, we loved how it gave us a reason to get out and do stuff. To start with, that was Luxembourg.
That was Luxembourg. Short but sweet.
So, you know, to have this incentive to need to find something every day to do that's interesting to film.
Go.
This morning we're in Vilnius.
I don't know, it had such an incredible impact on the journey that we had through Europe that year in Kotti, because it meant that we were always looking for interesting things to do. And gosh, did we learn a lot. We learned a lot about our relationship.
My wonderful wife got in a bit of a strop this evening.
We'd only just got married. We were living in a very confined space, traveling together, but we were now also working together and producing these videos. It was really cementing in this idea that we could be something to each other and with each other that was so all-encompassing and that it would work. We threw ourselves in. We absolutely threw ourselves in. And there were so many moments when I was so scared of the decision we were making, quitting our jobs in the midst of a pandemic. But gosh, here we are. And in terms of the YouTube journey and what we were doing with our videos is we were continually filming, but it wasn't until I think we went to Finland after our trip in Norway. We went up to Finland and released a few videos from Finland, and it turns out that the Finns really love watching videos from Finland. There's some countries like this in the world where if you go there, your videos are likely to have a real spike in view numbers because the people who live there are really interested in watching videos from their own country. And that's what happened to us with Finland, and it gave us a real boost in confidence that we were making videos that people wanted to watch.
Sing it.
No.
Go on, do it. Do it. do it.
No, darling, that's for your ears.
Come on. Your mum and dad want to hear it. They do. I'll start. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer
Had a very shiny nose. And if you ever saw it, you would say...
And we got a bunch of subscribers, and we started kind of earning a little bit of money from YouTube. That was sort of subsidizing the daily spend. Suddenly YouTube started seeming like a viable option for the future, and not as a kind of life-changing option, but as a, okay, we could probably keep living in this tiny van and spending 50 euros a day on life. But there was obviously the fact that I was pregnant with our first baby, and he was going to arrive imminently, and that van wasn't very big for a family of 3. We then went back to the UK and had our first baby, Crusoe.
£9.
Who is just about to turn 4 in 2 days' time. We needed a bigger van. So John got to work building our second van, which we called Safari, and the 3 of us set off once more when Crusoe was 8 weeks old on a second big road trip around Europe, which we loved. And that is kind of the road that led here. But first, let's not skip over that bit because it was incredible. Traveling in a van with a baby has provided some of my most vivid and treasured memories, and it was truly epic. Next village. Well, boys, what do we think?
Like that.
very quick interruption to tell you about an amazing offer I've got for you from today's sponsor, Craftsy. Craftsy is an online community where DIY enthusiasts, makers, learners and creators can come together to learn new skills, improve their current skills, or take on a new hobby completely. There's over 2,000 classes covering 20 different categories and things like knitting, sewing, painting, cooking, drawing, baking and cake decorating, one I'm currently looking at because it's Crusoe's birthday soon and, well, I've got to get baking. He wants a digger cake with a rhino driving a digger. Wish me luck. All of the courses offer step-by-step instruction from experts in their field, and you can do it in your own time at your own pace whenever it suits you. Craftsy is your one-stop shop online resource for all things creative, and here's the best bit. The first 1,000 people to click on the link in our description below will get a premium membership to Craftsy for a year for just $1.49. Usually, it's $123. So get clicking and let me know what you're going to be getting up to. Who thinks I can persuade John to take up knitting?
For $1.49, darling, you can persuade me of anything. I'll learn how to knit for $1.49. Yes.
There you go.
Wow. It didn't all happen exactly like that. There was a whole bunch of work in between. We also went to Jordan, didn't we?
And to the States and to Africa. And it was in this dream of being a travel channel. We really wanted to make a YouTube travel channel a success, and it was doing all right.
We were battling away, edging up slowly but surely, and really communicating and connecting with everybody. We would reply, and still do, to every single comment that comes in. We were attempting to get ourselves into local newspapers wherever we went. It was pretty hectic time, and we were working so hard.
And we were also new parents. We're going to have to go on the hunt for some nice linen clothes for Crusoe, which is such a tough time of life.
Focus is often on our trips in Europe, when actually has had heavy footfall and a lot of traffic on those roads. So drive beside the road. So it is doable.
So we were exhausted.
Yeah.
Do you remember being in that van and just getting like no sleep?
We battled and we came to Portugal twice. We came basically because Boris had told us that we could fly here without going home into lockdown. So we came to Portugal, and the very same day we landed in Faro in southern Portugal, and Boris changed it from green to amber. Now, we didn't have the van with us on that particular trip.
So we'd flown and we were doing YouTube, so we didn't have to rush back to get back to work or anything.
I need to try not to be a worried mum about this particular situation.
And we ended up being here for a month.
It was a really, life-changing decision to come to Portugal. We were following a YouTube channel, good friends of ours now, the Indie Projects, and we were watching what they were getting up to, and we thought, you know what, I'm pretty handy. I've built a couple of vans. We should go and buy ourselves a tiny house. So what happened to both those vans? Cotty, our first van, and Safari, our second van. Both of them were really great investments. The first van, the small white van, we sold that one so that we could buy a bigger van, Safari. Also, I've wired in the 12-volt DC fridge. Looks really fancy. And what happened to Safari? Well, after we toured all around Europe and we've been all over the place in it.
We just opened the door and there's a broken egg in the van.
Okay, we have a stowaway chicken. After Crusoe had spent the first half a year of his life living in a van, we decided to sell that one too. And we used all of the money from that van to help us buy this place. And it was after a bottle of wine.
Yeah. Dangerous time to make contact with anybody. But
We contacted 2 estate agents. One of them never replied and the other one did reply.
thanks, Carlos.
And we inquired about a completely different property on the other side of a valley, and it was beautiful, but there was traffic noise and it wasn't really what we were looking for. So then...
Just to say, the only prerequisite we had was that we didn't want to hear traffic.
So Carlos, the estate agent, said, okay, well, I've got this other place, let's go and have a look at that. And we had literally nothing else to do with the rest of the day. So we said, okay, yeah, let's go and have a quick look. So we drove about 25 minutes and we walked through the gates and we both looked at it and we were thinking, you know...
Honestly, I don't even think I was thinking much. It was so overgrown, we couldn't see anything. I'm sat here looking at the most extraordinary view from where we're building the house. We couldn't see it. We didn't even know you just didn't know we had it, did we?
No.
The buildings were fairly nondescript and ugly, but it was the right amount of land. It was in a really nice location at the end of the road. It wasn't a through road. Couldn't hear traffic.
What happened? We stood there in the middle of the courtyard right behind us in front of that stone house that you can see in the background, and we said yes, all right then.
He looked at me and he said, I think we should get it. And I was like, why? What for? We had this dream of buying a property in Europe. Okay, I'm originally from Zimbabwe, as most of you know, so I don't know, I just needed more space and I
sunshine.
needed sunshine. We were kind of dreaming of this property in Europe, but we hadn't done any research about Portugal.
So what happened next? This is we put the offer in, and then we paid a deposit, and that's when it started to get really serious.
In about an hour and a half's time, we are off to sign the titles on the land.
We are.
And make this dream and this vision slightly more real.
Yeah, this vision that we've just spotted has got a huge wasp nest.
Massive.
We're like, crikey, we've just paid, I think it was a €15,000 deposit.
And non-refundable as well.
Non-refundable. So after we signed the documents, we went back to that campsite and we filmed the van tour for Safari, didn't we? And that was truly, I would say, our first properly viral video. We filmed that van tour, and at the time van tours were really big videos.
One last feature is this panel, which we covered in the same wallpaper that we put onto the dining room table.
Everybody knew that if you filmed a van tour and you nailed it, you'd get at least 500,000 views. So that's basically what happened. We made that van tour here in Portugal at the campsite whilst we were signing the documents for this place. You know, we got about 300, 400,000 views on a video when our average view count for a video at that time was about 15,000. So it was massive for us. And then we basically left Portugal and we forgot about it for 3 months. I think that was when we went to America, didn't we?
It was, yeah.
In all of this time, we'd been saving up a little bit of money. I'd been doing some freelance work for a company that I used to work for. So we'd been collecting a bit more money.
And we had a little bit of savings left, which we'd got from a sale of a property in the UK before we left in the initial van.
Yeah, so there was some money to buy this place with. And it took over 3 months to finalise the paperwork.
So you buy a house and get a bottle of booze. Nice.
And then we drove back. Yes. In the van this time. Second pit stop of the journey so far. Crusoe just did the most amazing. Well, it was yellow and it went everywhere.
But at that point, we didn't really know what we were going to do with the property. We had a dream of going off-grid, of like creating a homestead, you know, living a bit more in touch with the land and growing our own food and slowing down and all of that sort of stuff. We also still wanted to be a travel channel and we wanted to be traveling full time.
Well, that was it. We just thought, well, we'll buy this as kind of a place to hang out whilst we're still traveling.
Yeah.
When we walked through the gates for the first time, really to say we were going to live here, I remember driving down the hill here and saying to you, look, if we don't like it, we can just leave and we'll sell it. 4 different continents since we were here last. Asia, Africa, America, and Europe. And here we are. We're going to park at the top of the hill and walk down.
So the first few videos that we made after we arrived on the farm were, I think the first one was a farm tour and the second one was clearing out all of the houses and stuff, because the people that we'd bought the property from had left everything here. So there was just so much clearing up to do, not to mention all the clearing of the land. But those videos on YouTube did really, really well. We went from averaging 15,000 views an episode to 50,000 views an episode, and suddenly loads of you wonderful people subscribed and joined us on what has been this incredible journey. That was when, you know, we were like, oh, okay, maybe we've stumbled on something here. Maybe this is the winning formula. So we started documenting more of our lives here on the farm and started clearing the land and doing small projects. We couldn't really afford to take on anything massive at that time, so we were recycling the wine press into a table or building the outdoor shower or just trying to figure out how the water worked on this place, because
that was hard.
We had no idea what we had bought or where everything was. We've always told our story with authenticity at the heart of what we do. We've always tried to keep everything so real. So we shared the ups, the downs.
I'm going to collapse. Oh,
definitely feel when John rotates that shoulder, there's a lot of like crunching going on in it. You know, the really exciting finds and the good days and the really hard times when we had no idea what was going on because there was no water coming into the house. And that's not supposed to happen when you just tap off.
No,
Doesn't surprise me though. I still feel like I just want to set flames to this kitchen. It's horrible. 40 degrees and everybody was like, what have we done?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It was
hard.
It was really.
Do you remember when the gear stick of our car snapped?
Yeah, I do.
He doesn't know what the products. Oh my. The gear sticks just popped off. That is not good. The gear sticks just popped off. I have no idea what, like, I wasn't doing anything that wasn't normal. What the hell?
I don't know how that happened.
But love, look, it looks like it's been welded before, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
Oh, my darling, I'm so sorry. I promise I didn't do anything that wasn't normal. I was just putting it into gear.
Okay, well, we don't have any water and we don't have
A car.
I do. That was a really bad day because something else bad had happened in the morning as well, and I was already pretty fed up. And then Tara walked around the corner and went,
With tears in my eyes with holding the gear
the
stick.
gear stick snapped. And I was like, oh my goodness. But it wasn't all hard. It was actually really exciting because we were getting all of these views that we hadn't previously had on our channel.
Surprise!
Surprise! It's Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday and it's a newbies video.
Subscriber numbers were ticking up really quite steadily. You know, we went from 50 to 60 to 70,000 quite quickly. Again, the comments were coming in and we were engaging with a community that was frankly very supportive and totally amazing.
Keeping us going, honestly.
Keeping us going.
Yeah.
And it was around about that time as well. We're contacted by people that wanted to sponsor our videos. We picked them because we think they're going to resonate with you and they're relevant to ourselves.
How do I start it?
Let me start again.
Help.
And when you get sponsors in the videos, that's when you can start saying, okay, we can actually rely on YouTube to be our job. And it all just started to make sense. We were really enjoying being in Portugal.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So you go hick, hack, hock. Yes, I win! But it really
We found so much purpose here on the farm, building the projects and making the projects.
And of course we were watching Crusoe and then Sawyer when he came along.
Yeah.
Having the most extraordinary childhood. All of this space to run around and all of this connection with nature and learning how to plant trees and vegetables and to harvest and to meet and engage with the neighbours.
4 years in with Crusoe and 2 years in with Sawyer, they're growing up brave, strong kids. That's really for sure.
And they're thriving, and I think it's been the best thing we ever could have done for our kids, was made the decision to move to Portugal. It's been great, hasn't it?
Epic.
This farm needed so much work, and we've been so fortunate to have the likes of Joao coming over to help, and you know, to have found Mario and his digger, and you know, to have him coming over in those early days every now and then to kind of do the big heavy work. But you worked your socks off, love. Like, John hasn't stopped. Building, clearing, landscaping, gardening, parenting, renovating. It's an extraordinary amount of work, and alongside all of that was, you know, parenting and the YouTube business side of stuff, which is a massive juggle. YouTube is a full-time, very, very, very busy job. And in some ways, YouTube has been such a big, in fact, a lot of ways, YouTube's been such a big driving force of the success of the farm and how much we've managed to do in 4 years, because in order to create content, we needed to do stuff. We would have done all of the stuff we've done anyway. Did it at the pace we did it at, and we got really creative, like the Hobbit house and the deck. YouTube was a big driving force behind that, because the more creative you make it, the more entertaining it is for your subscribers to watch. We had so much fun trying to fit in our plans for our dream home into also, how can we make that even bigger and better so that it's also fun to watch?
You guys out there have really helped guide us on the path that we're on.
Yeah.
You've taken us to this big build that we've got going on here. You've taken us to a place where we've renovated a few houses and built a lawn where we've put bees in and moved olive trees. So it's all been kind of with a lot of help from the community that watch this channel.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Worst and best moments on the farm.
Worst moment for me, I think, has to be when that gear stick broke. Is not good. That was my hardest time.
Okay, best time.
Best time. You know what comes to mind is all the times that I can see in my memory bank of the boys, like running along the lawn, playing in the sprinklers, picking vegetables, planting in the greenhouse with them, like watching them jump in the puddles. Like, I think that for me is the best times, you know? How about you?
Which one?
Worst.
Worst time. I think the shoulder was a really bad time for me because busting my shoulder building the deck down there and lifting.
You actually, darling, had bulging discs in your neck.
Yeah, lifting too much wood, and I always really want to be working, but that was just like, you know.
Best?
All of it. To be able to see the transition that we've got here, the growth and the change and the development, and what a journey it's taken to get us here. You know, all of it's just been epic.
Yes.
We've started a travel channel, and if you're new to the Newbys, head on over to the Newbys Explorer and have a look over there. We've got some videos going out from Kenya at the moment, starting on Friday. But the really cool thing about that Kenya series at the moment is that we partnered with a tour company called Wild Paths, who are giving away a trip worth around about $18,000 to Kenya for 2 people.
Yeah.
Amazing. So if you want to go to Kenya and you want to be in the chance of heading over to Kenya, then go and watch the video and find out how you can do that.
Yeah. It was also, like, in terms of recognizing milestones, Kenya is our first ever fully hosted trip.
Yeah.
Meaning that we were hosted by the companies we went to go and stay with, and the whole point of it was to showcase their conservation and community work and the projects that they do alongside offering these incredible safaris. So we're so excited for the series to go live because it's something more than just travel.
Yeah, and also give our kids the opportunity to experience things that have value.
Yeah.
You know, go and play with some school kids on a different continent.
Yeah.
Go and plant trees in conservation areas. Go and feed some elephants and giraffe and do really cool stuff like that will shape the way that they think about life. But I mean, that's a whole different story. Yeah. Okay. Let's go and edit this part of the video. So we'll see you in a couple of days. And
that was a lot of talking. Anyway. All right.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's in the future of this kind of space and this home? Well, we've bit an awful lot at the moment. I've got very, very full plates. We've got to build this house and get this off the ground, get a roof on it. You know, move out of a tiny 1-bedroom house that we're living in. Yeah,
like everybody, we've got bills to pay, so we've got to keep on working as hard as we can.
Yeah, and also making a difference. You know, this Kenya trip for us really opened our eyes to the possibility of us being a real force for good. It's something that we've always wanted to have as part of what we do. So the fundraiser over on the Kenya videos, which is raising funds for the projects that we went to visit, which would get you in with a chance of winning this trip to Kenya, is kind of the first foray, if you will, into us trying to add a little bit of philanthropy, if you will, to what we do, and give a little back. And I want to take the moment to say a massive thank you to every single one of you for watching our videos, for subscribing to our channel, for being such a huge part of our family and our life. You know, without you clicking on our videos, watching and cheering us on with your comments and, you know, engaging with our brand sponsors, we wouldn't be able to carry on with this project. And
every Friday we've got a newsletter that goes out right somewhere around here. There'll be a QR code on the screen. Go and have a look at the newsletter. Most weeks we try and ask one of our sponsors, who you guys sit through the adverts for, thank you. We ask them to also, as well as give us the product to show you guys, also give us another product so that we can give it away in our newsletters.
It's a little thing, but it's just one of the ways that we want to try and be able to say thanks to you guys. And I have a vision that this home of ours, when it's finished, is not just a space for us to be as a family, but it's also perhaps a place where we can all come together as a community in some way, shape or form. I mean, there's quite a lot of you now, so... And maybe not all at once.
I reckon the neighbour that lives at the top of the hill might be a bit worried about 200,000 cars coming down the hill.
But I don't know, I've got an idea for some sort of, I don't know, we'll see what the future holds.
What's the ambition? What's next?
Finish this house.
200,000 subs on YouTube is just around the corner.
Yeah,
hopefully
wow, guys, jeepers, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you haven't yet subscribed and you want to be a part of getting us over that next here, please just hit that red button for us. We'd be so grateful.
Yeah.
That just feels monumental. 200,000 people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just lots to look forward to. So thank you for being a part of every single little bit of it. From the bottom
humbled.
of our hearts, we could never ever thank you enough. And we really hope that you've enjoyed this video. It's something a little bit different from our usual kind of bi-weekly updates from the farm. It's a story we really wanted to tell, and it was a bit kind of self-indulgent for us to look back and spend some time in those folders, you know, laughing at how grumpy I used to be when we were filming in the van.
She was. Yeah.
And yeah, thank you, love, for kind of pulling us through.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah. Right, next up, look out for sometime in the coming weeks everything we've done in the last 12 months, last year video, because we haven't covered that, and we've done an awful lot.